Hi there, today I'm going to show you how to make a decorative sheet of polymer clay using a Mokume Gane technique with stamps. Start with 3 pieces of conditioned polymer clay. I like to use contrasting colors so that I have a light, a medium and a dark color. Make sure your colors are not too similar, otherwise you'll lose all your pattern once your sheet is made. Stack your colors together, trimming to fit your smallest piece of polymer clay. Remember, when you want to lift clay off your board, to slide the blade underneath before lifting, otherwise you'll end up pulling and distorting. So, to avoid getting air bubbles between your layers, when you place the top sheet on top of the lower sheet, start at one side and gently smooth with your fingers towards the open edge. Trim your clay so that you've got all 3 colors all the way to the edges. Now put the whole stack through your pasta machine at the thickest setting. Then cut the whole sheet in half and stack the 2 halves together. Again, I'm trimming to fit the smallest piece of clay so that there are layers throughout. Put your new stack through the pasta machine again at the thickest setting. And then cut this piece in half and stack again. Repeat the pasta machine cut stack process 3 times. An alternative to cutting to the smallest layer is to fill in the holes with offcuts. Here I'm doing it on the bottom side of my sheet. This is the 3rd time that I'm putting the stacked sheet through the pasta machine, and this will probably be the last time I need to cut and stack this sheet. After you've cut and stacked your sheet 3 times, have a look at the colors. You'll know it's ready when you can see the other colors shining through the layers. On the underside you can see that there's yellow starting to show through, so I think the sheet is about ready. The next step is to add an optional top layer. Here I'm using a sheet of gold metallic clay. I've rolled it out onto the thinnest setting of my pasta machine, and I'm just stretching it slightly to make it as thin as possible. You've got to do this a bit gently so that you don't tear the sheet. Once it's as thin as you can get it, place it carefully on top of your layered stack. Remember to start your placement from one side and smooth down gently across with your fingers to move all the air bubbles out. Trim off the excess, and then put your whole stack back through the pasta machine at the thickest setting. Now you're ready to have some fun with your stamps. This is a stamp that was originally on a wooden block, which I pulled off, so it's got a bit of adhesive left behind. I find I can get a better stamp by using it directly without the wooden block. Make sure that you get a good deep impression from your stamp. You might want to stand up to make sure that you can really get your weight behind pressing into the stamp. You can also use a roller on your stamp, but you do need to be a little bit careful as this can distort the stamped pattern. I like to press the stamp in with my fingertips before using the roller. So I'm going to speed up the stamping so that you can see the variety of things that you can use. Obviously, you can use little stamps, but you can use anything that's going to texture your sheet. What you want is good hills and good valleys. So you can get imaginative. Here I'm using a ravioli cutter. Obviously this doesn't go back into the kitchen. You can use a ball stylus to create some dots. You can use a cutter, and don't worry if it goes all the way through your sheet. I'll be showing you how to fix that later on. You can use an etch and pearl tool to make some nice little circles. Back to the stamps to fill in any gaps or anywhere where there is not a good impression. Here I'm using a stamp that I made myself from polymer clay. You can even use the ball stylus to draw. Here I'm drawing some curves and spirals. Once you're happy that your sheet is textured and interesting, we're ready to move on to the next step, which is shaving off the hills and leaving just the valleys. This will reveal all the interesting colors underneath. For this, you need to use a flexible blade. Gently curve the flexible blade and carefully slide it across the surface of your sheet. This will shave off the bumps that the stamps have created. Work slowly and eventually you will start to reveal the layers of color underneath. Keep wiping your blade to keep it clean, but remember it is sharp and be careful not to cut your fingers. After you've been trimming for a while, you'll start to reveal the colors underneath. I like to flip these shavings over onto another sheet of polymer clay. This creates a bonus decorated sheet. You can use a contrasting color, or you can also use something that's already got a pattern, like a Skinner blend sheet. When you finish trimming your sheet, you'll want to smooth the surface. This will help repair any damage that you may have done with your blade, or if you happen to cut a bit deeply when making your stamp textures. Here I'm using a piece of baking parchment. You can also sometimes use greaseproof paper. It's a good idea to test on a smaller piece rather than using it on your sheet that you've worked hard on, just to test that it pulls off the surface without sticking too much. I'm using a piece of laminated paper, which is slightly softer than a credit card, and I'm pushing really hard with both hands while I'm standing to put my full weight against it. You want to move quickly, this is real time, and with a little bit of pressure. This helps warm the clay and helps move the surface. But you'll see it doesn't distort the pattern a huge amount. Use your fingertips to feel if the sheet is smooth and to feel any bumps. Especially when you're using a metallic clay, you can't always see whether it's a bump or a mica shift effect. It's worth spending time on this stage because the more smoothing you do now, the less sanding you need to do later. Once you've finished smoothing your sheet, use your knife to slide underneath and separate it from the board. This avoids pulling the sheet up, which can distort it. As you can see here, I wasn't quite as careful as I should have been, and I actually tore my sheet. This is not the end of the world. If you carefully align the tear together, you can then use the same smoothing method with your baking parchment or greaseproof paper, and this will heal up the tear. There you go, good as new. And there is your finished sheet of Mokume Gane. I'm working on some videos to show some projects that you can use a decorative sheet like this with. Hopefully those will be available soon. Here's a close-up of the finished sheet. And these are the bonus sheets I made using the offcuts from the shaving process. It's probably a good idea to use a bigger piece of backing clay, but I wanted to show a variety of different colors. That's all for today. Bye!